Hello, Earthlings! I've finally gotten around to reviewing 2 consecutive King Gizzard albums. So yeah, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard have released their latest album, Infest the Rat's Nest. As usual, it's something different for them. Also last week, a couple days before the album dropped, I saw them at SVN West in San Francisco. It was everything I expected it to be, and a bit more. They had 2 opening acts. Stonefield was one of them. I know a little bit about them. I'd like to get into them. I'd like to get into their music a bit more. The other one was called Orb. I don't know much about them. As far as I know, they're not on flight lists. Anyway, here are a few random clips I filmed from the show. So the oldest song they played that night was Stressin'. I was only there for the first night. They played 2 shows with pretty different sets. I kind of wish I could have been at the second show so I could have heard Work this time, because that one is my favorite song from Oddments. But Stressin' sounded so much better live than in its original lo-fi version. 2 other favorites of mine that they played were Plastic Boogie, which happened to come up in a conversation I had with some other fans outside, and also Beginner's Luck, where Stu really milked it in the beginning. I didn't film that part of the song, but so, as those of you who haven't been living under a rock know, this is King Gizzard's metal album, and most of it was written and recorded with Stu on guitar, Joe on bass, Cavs on drums. Planet B, which I mentioned which had come out by the time I reviewed Fishing for Fishies, basically sets the tone for the album with its thrash prog mix. And on the first part of this song, as is the case with most of the album, Stu kind of sings in a sort of higher pitched Troy Sanders type voice. So yeah, Planet B really sets the tone for this album. It's got a few thrashy riffs, a few proggy riffs, some weird chords at the end. And there may not be a Planet B for most of us, but there is one for the rich. Mars for the rich. This one is a bluesy boogie type shuffle. It could almost fit in on Fishing for Fishies. And it's got some killer bass lines, especially in the middle. Of course, Joe plays them in the studio, but here's Lucas doing it live. And then track 3, Organ Farmer, is probably the most death metal song on the album. It's kind of Slayer meets Cannibal Corpse. Again, I'm not very well versed in metal, so Slayer and Cannibal Corpse are my only 2 reference points for this song. Also, Cavs has some nice, tasty tumble dryer drum fills in this one. And then track 4, Superbug, is the most sludge stoner metal song on the album. It's one of my favorites, along with Mars for the Rich. It doesn't necessarily have the heaviest production on the album, but the sheer slowness of it gives it a lot of extra weight. It kind of reminds me ever so slightly of I Think I Lost My Headache by Queens of the Stone Age. And then side 2 of the album begins with Venusian 1, which I think has maybe multiple references to Planet B. Definitely at the end, where Stu Says There Is One Planet V. Also, those two songs were written by Stu alone, along with Superbug. The verse of this song has some tasty 9/2 polyrhythms. The middle bit is in 15. It's got a 15 beat pattern. There's 9 and 15, and as it happens, this is King Gizzard's 15th album and it's got 9 tracks. This is another one of the thrashier songs on the album. Perihelion is another shuffle which gets extra funky during the chorus with the quarter note triplets and the guitars. And at the end there's one of the rare moments in the album where we can actually hear Ambrose's harp. Track 7 is Venusian 2. I really like how Stu actually says the numbers in the titles of the two Venusian songs. This is the one they opened up that first night with. It's got some nice double kicking throughout from calves. That's why he's called Calves, because he's got some strong calves. That joke wouldn't work in an Australian accent, ironically. Yeah, and Venusian 2 is definitely the most purely thrash tune on the album. Track 8 is Self-Immolate, another one of my favorites. In fact, it starts with my favorite polyrhythm on the album, where the drums and the guitar are playing the same riff, but the guitar is in 9 and the drums are in 8. And then it's followed by a drum solo. And some parts of this song are also in 15. Again, 9 tracks, album 15. Maybe it's a coincidence, maybe not. It is King Gizzard after all. And there's also a crazy shreddy riff that has some trills in it that comes back several times throughout this track too. It's basically juggling the 4 sections. There's the 9-bit, the 15-bit, the chorus, and the crazy prog riff. And then finally, this album climaxes on the closing track, Hell, where all the styles they've touched on get whipped into a frenzy, and you've got all the guys shouting in the background. Strangely enough, the shouts are almost buried in the mix because they're so distorted. I'm not sure how they got that effect. Did they just put the effect on afterwards? Did they actually shout into the guitar? Or were they in the room while Stu, Joe, and Calves were playing? And then near the end you get a bit of rest and then the groove returns much slower. So all in all, I give this album a metal out of 10. To the extent that what I think of it matters. I'm dying to hear what you think about it. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, I definitely dig this album. I just don't have much in the Gizzard canon to compare it to. Maybe The Great Chain of Being. Maybe some bits of like Murder of the Universe, Nonagon Infinity. But yeah, if you like metal, you should definitely check out this album. What am I saying? I'm not well versed in metal, but anyway, look forward to my Dr. John cover. That's what I'm gonna be uploading next, hopefully. And until next time, this is Neutron signing off. Gafaba.